listening to AstroDetectives, where longtime friends Scott and Sarah try to debunk
or prove
the ancient practice of astrology.
I'm Sarah Hartshorn, the astrologer.
And I'm Scott Randall, the skeptic. Each episode, I'll give Sarah two natal charts. One chart matches the exact moment of birth for our mystery guest, and the other is just a red herring.
I'll use astrology to detect which chart belongs to our guest. And with a little help from my underground network of AstroDetectives, this case is as good as solved.
Oh, we'll see about that. Welcome, AstroDetectives listeners and viewers now, because, yep, we're on YouTube. Whether you asked for it or not, we're on YouTube at youtube.com/whatever AstroDetectives. And we're pretty excited now because last week we had the Virgo playlist released. We're right in the midst of Virgo season. Your two hosts, one of which has yet to be introduced, both have Virgo placements in their charts. So Sarah, are you having a good Virgo season?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of Virgo going on. Yeah, I mean, and because I am a Virgo, I am having a good Virgo season because it was my birthday. And
there you go. And happy belated birthday on behalf of our dozens of listeners.
Thank you. And I just turned 45, which is the 10th house perfection year. So I'm really hoping that, some good stuff happens for us professionally.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to check out our special episode on the Virgo season and the music associated with the Virgo zodiac archetype, that came out on Patreon. And that's a great way to learn about each of the signs, because Sarah, you do such a good job of breaking down all these different traits and then sort of explaining it through music, why certain songs match it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it was fun recording that. So that would have just come out.
Yeah, I love doing those playlists, and already moved on to trying to build out the Libra playlist, which is almost done. And I'm excited about that because I think that Libra is another good sign that lends itself well to music. Although you were saying that you were kind of struggling to come up with some.
I'll put in more work, but right now I'm sitting on 3 songs only. So I'm going to try and get a few more songs in there. Yeah.
So Libra is ruled by Venus, which loves, Venus is the ruler of like love and romance. So, Cancer had a lot of romance to it too. And Leo had a little bit, but Venus is, kind of like girly. Libra is about partnership and marriage and things like that. So there's a lot of good songs out there that I think if you have that in mind, you'll be able to find them.
All right. If you're just as confused as me, then you'll have to check that episode out next time. But for now, we got our own case to solve in this episode. Our astrologers are here. We've got a guest astrologer helping you out, Sarah.
Yes.
Who do we have today?
Well, I'm so excited. This is a returning AstroDetective. We have Bronwyn Simons back with us. Welcome back, Bronwyn.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me back.
Yeah, you were, I can't actually believe it's been a year, but you were, I thought it was just like earlier this year, but it was like last fall. You were on our Halloween episode
that's right,
7, Alana with the Scorpio vibes.
Mm-hmm.
We got that one right. So that was a good one.
We did. We have a record to uphold.
Yes.
Bronwyn is at 100% right now, and she's putting it on the line just for you guys out there. So when you looked at these two charts, what did you guys think of when you're looking for differences and an area where, you might want to focus to figure out if our guest coming up belongs to one of these two birth charts?
Yeah, well, and just to remind everybody, if you want to play along, we have these charts available in whole sign and Placidus on our website, astrodetectivespod.com. Just go to the case files and you can download everything in a package there. But just if you're listening along, we have a Gemini sun chart that has a Scorpio moon and a Virgo rising. And then our other chart here, we have a Capricorn sun with a Cancer moon and a Taurus rising. And so that's kind of what we're working with here.
And the Saturns are different, which I know you love,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
The Saturns are totally different.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that you did that for me. But yeah, I was kind of a little worried last time when they were like only 3 months apart. But these are about, I would say, at least a year apart, maybe more. So anyway, but yeah, so we've got a Gemini sun and a Capricorn sun. But what's kind of noticeable about both of them almost have like a full moon going on situation where the moon is almost culminated to be exactly 180 degrees, but not quite. But the main difference is these are both water moons, but one is Cancer and one is Scorpio. And why that's significant is because the moon is actually the natural ruler of Cancer. It's in its domicile there. And so when you have a moon in Cancer, things related to your Cancer house tend to go, or anything related to like your moon and things like that, tend to go better, more positive expressions, a little bit easier. Whereas the moon is actually in its fall in Scorpio. So things can be harder in that realm. And just to give like kind of an example, like the moon kind of rules our like our inner emotions and how we deal with things on the emotional plane. And so a Cancer moon is going to be a little bit easier, more comfortable expressing their emotions and their vulnerability, whereas a Scorpio moon is, and I'm one, is a lot more uncomfortable with vulnerability and expressing their they're very sensitive, but when it comes to expressing those emotions and being vulnerable, which I do like to do, but I'm very blubbery and I do try to hide it and I feel like shame about it. So to me, those are one striking difference. So how about you?
How well they're going to express those emotions is something you're going to be looking for.
Well,
good is going to lead towards one chart, and poorly is going to lead toward, not poorly, but less comfortable is going to lead towards another chart.
Well, I would say it's like their comfortability with expressing emotion. And also both these moons are in the third house. So that the third house has to do with our communication style and how we relate to especially like childhood friends or people that we met early on in social situations. And this person did say that social situations were a difficult thing for them. So it does feel like it could be that Scorpio moon. But anyway, that's just my quick take on that. Bronwyn, what kind of like stuck out to you about differences?
Yeah, that was one of the first places my eyes went to, was to those water moons way below the horizon in the third house, almost full, both of them. The sun's near the midheaven for both. And so I was telling Scott when we first came on and we're chatting that this is like different ingredients coming together to create similar flavors, because at first blush, these charts are so different. Like you're going to think a Capricorn stellium is going to be so different than a Gemini sun.
Right.
But there's these interesting similarities. So I'm wanting to focus in on the expression of that sun on the midheaven, the expression of that deep watery moon under the horizon, and looking for the subtle gradations of that. Because water moons are both really sensitive, but what kind of emotional expression are we looking at? And that those early childhood experiences, like maybe there's a big sibling story, but is it a story about like sort of positive parentification that we might have with a Cancer moon in the third, or is it there's some other stuff going on in that Scorpio third house in the other chart that might indicate that there's a difficult early childhood or sibling story. The thing is, though, both of these are private moons. So whether this person is the Cancer or Scorpio, they might be a little reticent to talk about those more personal things. It's funny, my natal moon is Cancer. So we've got both Cancer and Scorpio moon represented here. So that's
nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I just wanted to point out that Scorpio moon is like double Scorpio moon because it's conjunct Pluto retrograde there, like within a degree, and got the North Node there too. So that really is like an intense Scorpio moon. That's not just your run-of-the-mill Scorpio moon.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready for this intense Scorpio moon. Well, anything else that's sort of separating them that you're going to be looking for? I know they were a little bit, shall we say, concise on the survey. They didn't, expand. So when you talk about how comfortable sometimes people are sharing information or, sharing in general, we might have that case on our hands. We'll find out. But it looks like that's not going to tip you off to either chart because they're both making you think that they would be a little bit more reserved or, private.
Yeah, I want to hear about the mother story. Because the moon is really like how we view our mother too. So I feel like we're either going to have maybe a more, nurturing mother or a closer relationship with the mom versus one that may have been very intense.
All right.
I will say, though, with the Cancer moon, it can also go towards, like, people look at my chart, moon, Venus, North Node, and jump to, close relationship with the mother. And it was, but not in a good way.
Ooh,
so Cancer moon can run that way, too. So we know it's a significant relationship, right? And it'll be so interesting to hear about that.
And the fact that it's almost a full Cancer moon within, 3 degrees, that can also be very intense and not maybe as ideal.
Yeah.
So definitely looking for nuances here.
All right. Will these traits show up in our guest? Will they show up and say, look, I'm an open book. Ask me anything you want. Who knows? That would be the biggest surprise. But we will find out right after this.
Hey, Astro Detective listeners, this is your resident astrologer, Sarah Hartshorn, and I wanted to let you know about my coaching practice called My Cosmic Coach, where I offer natal astrology readings, human design readings, and a whole lot more. And right now, for fans of the Astro Detectives podcast, I'm offering $25 off my signature one-on-one coaching session. This is a holistic approach I developed that will guide you through any kind of decision you're trying to make or challenge you're navigating, where we're going to consult both your human design and astrology charts and even pull a few cards too. And you'll walk away with really clear, really practical and actionable advice that is aligned and specific just to you. So head on over to mycosmiccoach.com and use promo code AstroDetectives at checkout when you book a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's mycosmiccoach.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to test astrology, test our astrologers. Sarah Bronwyn joining us. And now our guest, Linda. Welcome to Astro Detectives.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. And I'm very excited and nervous at the same time, too.
Oh, boy. Well, this is the first time I think we've had a guest joining us from the car. And you were telling us just briefly what brought you out to the car for the recording of the podcast.
Well, my kids, they start school. So we're going to try to get them back to routine of sleeping early so they don't stay up late. My husband, he's helping me out right now to put the kids to bed.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's important. And you said you had a good excuse. You're like, I got to do this podcast. So sorry, honey, you're going to have to take over kid duty.
Yep, just for tonight.
One area we like to start is if you have like what you're currently wearing, clothing choice, and if you have any tattoos.
I do have 8 tattoos. Total.
Mm-hmm.
Clothing choice. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say any of them especially meaningful to you as far as, something that really speaks to who you are. You really connect to, this tattoo in particular.
All of them do. They have a very specific meaning. They were with me parts of stages of my life. So they resemble eras of my life.
Okay. And then how you're dressed now?
Now I'm just more comfortable. Sweats, it's my thing.
Is that pretty standard? You like to be comfortable?
Yeah. Depending on the special occasion, I can be like, adaptable to the occasion or just kind of like, I just like to be accordingly to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Linda, can I ask, can you just tell us about like one tattoo? I'd like to kind of know what it is.
The tattoo, my very first tattoo is on my chest right here with my heart. It says be beautiful, but it's the YOU in parentheses, so be beautiful. So that's one of my first tattoo when I was 18 years old. Sorry. And then it's just I was going through a lot of like life changes at that time, especially like the home life. So I didn't really have a stable home life nor a good relationship with mom. So it just to kind of remind myself that I need to be myself regardless who I'm around and not try to conform or people please them in that sense.
That's a good, meaningful tattoo. And to remind yourself of that too. And we'll get into like childhood and growing up. But first, is there a career or work history that you've kind of like noticed throughout your life? Have you been drawn to certain careers or jobs, or what do you feel like you're especially good at?
Well, I can't give away too much, but right now, what I'm currently doing, like a small business, it feels more of a calling. Because I used to do like 9-to-5 jobs. I was store manager for Dollar General. So I didn't appreciate the lack of help. So I was working my way up. I was a cashier, a key holder, an assistant manager. I worked my way up through the company. And then I realized the true colors of Dollar General. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to quit company, quit corporate, and then just stay home.
We just cost ourselves our Dollar General sponsorship if they ever were going to sponsor the show. No. You said you were starting a new venture, and you don't have to give away, obviously any details that you don't want to about specifics. Can you kind of give us a sense of the type of business it is?
So do you want me to tell you exactly what it is, or?
Oh, you're free to say whatever you're comfortable with. It's not going to give away your sign as long as it doesn't include, your birthday or your age or things like that.
Okay.
It's not related to astrology, right?
No, it's more
great.
spiritual side. So I just want to say that what I bring up now will make sense what my job is or my small business is. So of course, me being Asian, the Eastern Asian, we grew up around shaman activities like shamanism. So me growing up, I was already exposed to that side of the world. So now my business is mediumship and tarot readings.
Okay. And what kind of, you said, you just had a family history of being into shamanism. What is it about that you enjoy, that brought you to want to do that professionally?
Honestly, I wasn't drawn to it at first. I did it because I just saw like how much toll it took on the shamans and how intense it is, the ceremonies and everything that's involved, especially since from the Eastern Asian world cultures, and it's very close practice. And the elders always told me that you can't be a shaman, the spirits have to choose you, so you can't just dabble into a practice that you're not allowed to be chosen, So I was like, okay. And then so what really started my mediumship was I was talking to a friend, and then I was like, it's not really automatic writing, but I guess you can say it is. It's just, I was just writing down notes and then I was tuning in and then I was like, this is so weird, And then as soon as my friend came back, I was like, hey, let's talk about these notes I took down. And we went through every single thing. She said, yeah, that's my uncle that has passed. So again, it just came naturally to me, the ability, just because I was already exposed to it when I was younger. But I didn't really care or see it as a calling because I always had that limiting belief that I have to be chosen by spirits.
And you mentioned it's exhausting to a shaman, it's taxing. Do you feel that? Like, is this an exhausting experience when you're acting as a medium, or what is that like? If you can kind of walk us through that experience for you.
I think at first it is exhausting because you're just learning about yourself, the energies, and what works and what doesn't work for you. But I guess as soon you kind of get the program or you learn a bit more what works for you, what doesn't, it just kind of come naturally or easier for me. That's the case. I didn't have any help, any mentor. I did try to have attend developments and circles, but it's just more of like the clicks, it's like pick me vibes or just there for the money and not really actually teaching. So I was like, maybe I'm just better off learning, because that's what most shamans are. They're just more individual, and they rely on their, I guess you could say, spirit guides to teach them.
Was there an especially intense spirit guide or, experience that you had, from the other side communicating?
Honestly, I haven't encountered that yet, but I noticed what I call them, like my spirit team, they kind of mimic like me, her personality. And so I kind of vibe with that.
Okay. And you're communicating with your spirit team and not necessarily other people's, deceased relatives or someone who's crossed over and they want someone to talk to them?
Oh, I can do that. I do this professionally too. So I think within the 2 years, I did a little mediumship. I did like free readings to kind of get reviews and feedback to kind of build up my confidence. And then within 2 years, I was like, you know what? I feel pretty confident. I've always been getting like good reviews, consistent and healthy reviews too. So I was like, third year, I'm gonna start charging, but like start slow and then build up my prices too. I think now, since I'm like doing this further and longer, I'm starting to communicate more with what we call it deities, like gods, goddesses, archangels. They're a little bit complicated for me, but spirit guides, maybe the archangels, and then what people call like the demons, like Inferno, Ars Gracia, like Lucifer. That's the most common one I can say for you. Is that
I feel like that's one that you don't want to run into, right? That's one that you don't want to interact with as much.
I think it's the archangels. They're more scary.
Yeah.
They're more scary and intense. But I know that they're gentle, but it's just like you have to be very, very specific. And you leave it open-ended, they're just like, well, you said to bring your job, but you didn't tell them what kind of job. So you have to be very, very, very specific to tell them. If not, just like, well, you told me, So I was like, I'll admire you guys from far away.
Well, how would your friends, the friends, family, people in your life describe you?
Oh, okay. Very passionate. The mom friend of the group. But in my husband's eyes, I'm the opposite. Maybe because we've been together longer and he's like, no, you're not like that. No, you're not. I guess it's just like he sees the true side of myself, like the good and the bad. And then my friends told him, God, your wife is so nice. She's so kind and caring. It's like, no, she's not, kind of thing. But it's the typical husband joke. But in all honesty, I want to say that I'm very committed and I burn out. So I can't balance my work life and my personal life.
But your friends don't pick up on that. It takes your husband is the one who sees that.
Yeah, that side of me. I guess it's just like I have kind of like a two-face of me, the personal, sweet, caring side, and then my more of like the family side. Okay,
and then when you are experiencing some of those like difficult emotions, whether it's burnout or whether it's something else, sadness or, anger, how do you process those emotions? Is there kind of something that you go through to work it out?
Now I'm just point in my life, I'm trying to process and feel the emotions instead of just pushing it back or kind of like, okay, for me, this is what I tell my clients. So I acknowledge the feelings, but I don't process it. So now I'm on a stage of trying to process my feelings and feeling the feelings, so I don't have like energy blocking me to kind of, I don't know. This is what I'm trying to say. Just don't have an energetic block with me if I'm moving forward.
Yeah, you got to get it out. Keep it moving along.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's all sorts of practices, like journaling, meditation, anything working for you to try and work through to process?
I just have to feel it. Because if I hold it in, it builds up.
Mm-hmm. Going back to childhood, you kind of alluded to it, but can you talk a little bit about what it was like growing up? What kind of a kid were you? What did you like to do?
As a kid, I couldn't really think for myself. And always go back to the people-pleasing aspect. It was just the fear of being abandoned, people leaving me. kind of codependency to as well. And then trying to conform to how to say this. I forgot the word to say. It's like whatever people think of me, I try to be what people think of me instead of being myself. And then it's also about how to say this word, trying to make my decisions based off what people tell me. So if I go for their advice, I take their advice literally when I know I shouldn't. So that's kind of thing too, my childhood.
So you're like adapting to the person they want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that in some ways that's a skill? Are you adaptable? I mean, this is something that actors do to like fit a situation. Do you see any pros and cons in that?
I think I do. I think because being adaptable can make me have imposter syndrome too. So I get that. Imposter syndrome. But again, for me, I'm just a very fair person. I treat the situation and person accordingly. So again, I'm very according to the person. I don't like to be unfair, I guess if that makes sense, because growing up, I have been unfair towards many people. So now I'm just like, you know what, I want to be fair, not be judgmental.
Mm-hmm. And be the same person to each friend. Like back to the tattoo, to be you.
Yeah.
Bring yourself to each interaction. You kind of mentioned a little bit, but can you talk about your mom and that relationship?
My mom, she could have done better. Like she was always working. So she's not necessarily a bad mom. It's just like she was lacking in the emotional aspect. But again, she provided, but she was just always at work. And it's just that I noticed growing up now is the fear like you've failed to provide for your kids kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that too.
Oh, failing to provide for your kids?
Yeah, that's why I went to Dollar General. That's why I kind of stepped up the ladder, even corporate.
Mm-hmm. So now I don't know if is your mom still around? Are you guys able to talk about this? Or have you ever had a kind of a conversation about that?
Yes. She's all the way in the other side of the world. Like we're still in North America, but she's on the other side of the world. So when she does come back home, we do connect. We have definitely mended our relationship for sure. She apologized on her end for being a bad mom, things that she kind of like caused wounds inside me, and I forgave her. So our relationship now is so much better compared to me growing up. And I feel like because of me being I guess what we call the black sheep, the child, she didn't know how to really handle or process kids who rebel and then who talk back and sneak out the house, and typical kid stuff like that. And, my mom, she was, in Thailand too. So she was growing up in Thailand. So in Thailand, they didn't really have that, I guess, I don't know how to really say it. They didn't have that level of like parenting skills that North America has now. So she didn't know how to treat me in the situation appropriately. So she lashed out on me physically. So.
Mm-hmm. And were you a kid who was sneaking out? Were you,
definitely talking back, think I know it all and everything. Yep.
And then any other parents in the picture? I don't know if your dad was had the same parenting style or anyone else.
I have two dads, but the first one I'm not sure for sure. I do have his last name still, but there's so many speculations and rumors because my second oldest sister, she said that my real dad or our real dad is not my biological dad, and my mom was messing with other men under the time. So I'm not sure my first dad is my biological dad, but my dad will have dad. He raised me basically. I don't have daddy issues as much as mommy issues, to be honest.
Well, that's, just a nice relationship with your dad. And then, boy, that's a topic for you and your mom too. But like, tell me more about the dating life or, about my dad or, when I was.
Well, the second dad, the half dad, he sexually touched me when I was younger too. So I told my husband about it. I told mom about it. My mom was like, no, you're being delusional. But my sister our half sister, she has speculation, and she can tell by the vibe energy how me and my dad or stepdad interacted. So she assumed something was going on. So it's just my husband and my sister, maybe mom, that knows about this.
Mm-hmm.
But me and my dad, the one who touched me, like, he didn't ask me for forgiveness. He knows deep down what he did. But for me, spiritually, to kind of move on and grow from it is to like forgive him for what he did to me and forgive myself for not knowing me better. Because I always thought, the sexual touching was normal. So I was like, I won't say not necessarily like hypersexual. It's just like sex was kind of like a release for me, I guess you can say, by safety at that time, my younger years.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that happened. It's difficult to even be able to bring up with your family and, with us especially. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, thank you. There's no need to hide from me anymore. I'm being embarrassed. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Especially as a child, having to process something like that.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to happier things. You mentioned right now that your husband is putting the kids to bed. Do you remember, like, how did you guys meet? And can you kind of describe his personality and, what kind of drew you to him?
We met on Facebook. I was pregnant with my oldest kid. I was 2 days away from giving birth. He messaged me on Facebook and say, "Hey, you're cool, you're interesting, I like you." I was like, "Nope, I'm 2 days from giving birth. Get away from me." So it's 1 month after I gave birth, he came back in my life and said, "Hey, want to go out?" I was like, "Fine, I'll give this man a chance." So he respected my boundaries, but at the same time, he was also persistent, but in a respectful way. So just what drew to him was, I guess he blindly trusted me, because after I get birth, he's like, "You want to go to the beach?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go to the beach." So it was a very spur moment kind of thing. And then we went to the beach, and then I guess we just hit it off there. And then he's like, the moment you shared, because he said that he didn't have enough money to go to the beach, really. So he just kind of went with it. And he said the moment he fell in love with me is where we ordered lasagna. And then he's like, "No, you eat it. I only have enough money for you to eat." And then I was like, "You know what?" So I grabbed a fork and grabbed the lasagna and fed it to him. So he's like, "In that moment, I knew I wanted to marry you because you fed me lasagna when I had enough money."
Aw.
Yeah. And then now his personality, I guess at that time when we met, he was still young too. But now as he grew older, he became more, I guess, mature, settled down now, and I guess just on the point where he's at in life. For me, I'm always like, I want to go do more things. I want to go do more things, accomplish more in life, because I spent my younger years being a mom. Now I'm like, you know what? I want to go out and do more and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big age difference between me and my husband.
Mm-hmm. And he's older or younger?
He's older than me.
Okay. And so, yeah. So, yeah, you're like, I got to go out. I want to go exploring. Is there something that you guys, like something you're looking forward to planning in the future that he says, okay, we can do that? Or is there anything big that you have planned? When you said you want to go out and have adventure, what comes to mind?
We always wanted to go to Bora Bora, but now we're like, no.
Bora Bora is on the list, but checking it off. Did Bora Bora do something?
I think it's just more to kind of, like, when we got married, we never did our honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're looking for that honeymoon place for us.
There we go. Let's see. You mentioned you have kids. Can you just briefly describe what their personalities a little bit? Do you see? Do they lean more like you, more like your husband, or what are they like?
Can I say how many I have?
Yeah,
Okay,
any of that is fine. Just don't say your age. Don't say anything about your age.
I have 4 kids. So 2 of them, I think they're my oldest daughter. She resembles my sister, the artistic drawing way, like the mangas, like Japanese manga. She draws that. I was like, okay, you resemble my sister, the artistic side. And then the oldest, my firstborn child, he's so different from me. He's so completely different. But he's on the wild, hyper side, so friendly. He'll walk up to a stranger and be friends with them. And I was like, son, you gotta learn not to be open to everybody like that, And then my third child, she's my mini-me for sure. My mini-me for sure. And then the baby boy, I don't know, he's still young. So I'm trying to play it out. But they all definitely look like me. For sure. And you can tell it has me and my husband features because my kids are biracial. It's white and Asian. So you can tell they're mixed kids. But when it comes to the circle facial features, you can see me in them. But the head shape, it has my husband head shape. So it's a mixture for both of us for sure.
You mentioned one of them is a mini you. What is it about them that makes them a mini you? What is it that stands out?
Oh my God, they don't take anything from anybody. If you tell her no, she's like, nope, I want to go do it. No, you don't tell me anything. That rebel age. And I was like, okay, that reminds me of younger, but way younger. I never did that when I was at her age. She's very independent. And she looks after her baby brother like she's his mom. So they're very kind, nurturing side of her too. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and you have, those characteristics too, nurturing, being a mom of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to money and debt. Is money something that comes in? Do you like to save up for things, or do you kind of spend on things as you need them, as you want them? What's kind of your relationship with money?
I'm trying to have a healthy relationship with money. I'm trying to. I think because it goes back to a childhood wound where my mom, she didn't necessarily give me the money I wanted or help provide me in that sense. I mean, she was worried about food and having a place to stay. That's it. But she didn't worry about providing me clothes or buying me candy like that. So now growing up, when I had my job, I was like, I'm going to spend it recklessly because it's trying to heal that inner child mom didn't provide for me. So now since I grow older, I kind of step back and say, okay, what's my needs? What's my wants? So I'm trying to have a healthy relationship with money.
And your mom's like, look, I was looking after the important stuff, the roof, the food. I can't be buying you candy. But that's hard for a kid to take in, Mm-hmm. Do you like to spoil your kids a little bit, or, give them some of those little gifts that you wish you had as a kid?
Yes, definitely. Buying my kids gifts that I never got when I was younger definitely helps heal my inner child mood for sure.
It's like you're buying it for yourself too, and two people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Health-wise, is there anything that has been sort of a sticking point for you healthy, whether it's physical or mental or anything that you've had to, I don't know, struggle with throughout your life, or nothing in particular?
I'm a pretty healthy person. I'm pretty healthy. I'm not trying to brag myself, but I'm a pretty healthy person. But I can say that I'm allergic to cats. I don't break out, whatever, but I just do develop asthma with a cat dandruff. So if it's not, the dandruff is not being controlled, my asthma does flare up.
So if the cat has been bathed regularly, you can be around that cat.
Yeah, or the house is taken care of and it's not your cat hairs over the floor, I'll be fine.
All right, so you're more of a dog person?
For me, it don't matter really. I just love pets. But knowing my responsibility now, it's no, my kids comes first before any animals.
Yeah, you can just stick to the cat videos online, right?
Yep.
Yeah. No dandruff. Can you kind of describe the last 12 months? Have there been any big changes or themes? If you were to kind of summarize the last year, has, certain areas of life been especially impacted?
I'm starting to be more financially independent from my husband. And I think that's the biggest accomplishment for me because, being stay-at-home mom, you depend on your husband. And now, since I'm starting my business now, the mediumship internal, if I can breathe, I was like, okay, now I don't depend on him, So just I don't want money to be the reason why, it's it destroys the marriage and stuff. Besides being financially independent now, I want to say too, I've made a complete 360. I don't recognize who I was like when I started my mediumship until now. I've made a complete 360. I learned the difference between empathy and being in sympathy to other people. And then is this now I'm more about like, I want to change, I want to grow better and having more compassion toward other people. For sure. Because growing up, people took advantage of me, and I'm always like, no, I didn't like people. But now, as I have clients and they want to connect to loved ones, it just taught me a lot of compassion. And you can't really judge a book by its cover. And that's the biggest part of me. I never really care for people. And I think the biggest part of me to like is acceptance. Like it is what it is.
Mm. Knowing what you can't change and accepting that.
Yeah, and I think forgiveness too, because it kind of goes back to where my dad is like, even though you may never have closure from the other people who hurted you, the only closure you need is from yourself.
The last question from me, and then I'll turn it over to the astrologers for some follow-ups. Sometimes they want to get a little more detail on different areas. But media recommendations, anything you've been watching, TV, movies, music, any good books that you would recommend to the audience or that are especially that you enjoy quite a bit?
Oh, for me, I enjoy like meaningful movies. Like I don't care what genres it is. It's just like the moral theme or lesson of the movie. Like let's just say, Dear John, the lesson of this movie. So I'm more like a meaningful person. I like to learn what's the lesson that needed this movie was trying to teach us kind of thing. So that's my recommendation. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once. I forgot that movie with Michelle Yeoh. I think that movie, if you're open-minded enough, that movie can teach you a lot about the other side from what my personal experience it has been. So that kind of movie matches up what I've been experiencing, my personal practice and craft. So I recommend that movie for sure.
Best Picture winner from, I think, last year or the year before was that movie. So enough people recognized it, and appreciated it. And that describes sort of your experience with the other side. Astrologers, have we?
Normally I have a lot of questions. I'm interrupting, but I was just so really like listening to you, Linda, and your story, and was just really like moved by everything you said. And so I was just trying to write down my questions instead this time. But I do have several I wanted to ask you about. Well, first of all, like, can you tell me like how tall you are?
5 feet exactly.
Okay.
I got from mom.
Okay. And how do you think people would call you a stubborn person? Like, has that been an issue that's come up, or are you pretty, because you did talk about being people pleasing and stuff. So I was just wondering if you were also like stubborn too.
I think stubborn to my financial independence for sure. Being stubborn.
Stubborn.
Sorry.
Sorry. No. So you're saying you're stubborn about achieving your financial independence.
Yeah, because I know what I want. I get there. I want to do it.
Okay. But as far as like just being in a disagreement with someone or no, we should do it this way, are you like it's a my way or the highway type person or no?
No.
Okay. And what does your husband do for a living?
He let's see this. He does really so he runs the register. He's not exactly a cashier, but he's he works for oxygen supply company that supplies propane and stuff like that. So he runs the register, so he fills propane, everything. But now he's starting to point where he's taking welding classes.
What kind of classes?
Welding.
Okay. So he does more kind of like physical labor type things?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you, what would you say your sense of humor is?
Dark humor.
Okay. And can you give us an example of maybe a situation where you reacted in a way or did something that you just aren't proud of? Like not one of your finer moments?
Finer moments. Finer moments. I think more of like not telling my mom about my dad, because I feel like she still kind of puts up a wall when I talk to her. But we do have a relationship. I think it's just like that little guarded moment.
Oh, okay. And one more question from me, and then I'll let Bronwyn ask some. So you talked a lot about the importance of forgiveness. Is that something that you've just now kind of are what's the word? Like you're getting better at that? Like has not being forgiving been a problem in the past?
I would say, yeah, it has been a problem in the past, but now it's been a good couple of years. As long as I've been doing my mediumship business, when I started to learn forgiveness.
Were you ever the type of person to just cut someone off and be like, screw them, I'll cut them out of my life?
Oh, that's now.
Okay.
I don't take any BS.
Now, but to how, I guess, like, is that just like the stranger on the street? Or, I mean, like, or if you had like a friend for several years, would you just be like, no, I didn't like that, bye forever?
It's both. Even if it's just like a client and they disrespect my boundaries, I'm very patient. I'm very kind. If I did repeat myself over again like 2-3 times, I'm gonna cut you off. So everybody is treated equally, not just friends.
Okay. All right. Bronwyn, did you have questions? Sorry to monopolize there.
No, I'm with you, Sarah. I just was listening with so much, such an open heart. I didn't feel like I had questions or wanted to interrupt when Linda was sharing her story. And thank you, Linda, for sharing so deeply of yourself. But I do have a couple curiosities. Let's see. When in those times when you struggle with your emotions or what we might call mental health, is it more towards the end of anxiety or depression?
I think it's more towards madness, to be honest.
Madness.
And anger.
So you don't run anxious about just daily life or keeping track of everything, or people would not describe you as an anxious person?
No, because now at this point in my life, I'm pretty well balanced now.
Hmm? Okay, this one is a little bit out of left field, and please feel free not to answer if you're not comfortable. But I wonder if there were circumstances surrounding your birth, and I'm talking about when you were born, that were difficult or painful or involved some kind of story of wounding or pain.
Me giving birth or my
No,
mom?
your mother giving birth to you.
I wouldn't. My mom, she's very closed off.
Okay. Do you have an intuition about that?
Honestly, I don't, because I respect her boundaries. As soon as I asked that question, like, no. So I was like, I respect it.
Okay,
I'm not gonna
that's great. Thank you. So along those lines, when you are engaged in your spirit work, when it comes in, is it now you mentioned writing. I'm wondering about the feeling. Is it more like, oh, I have this awareness? Or is it the words that come in? Or is it just a clarity of what you see? Or is it more that your whole heart goes out like you feel the emotion? Or is it all of that? Is there a
It's all-
particular? It's all of that.
It's all of that. I think mainly depending on the spirit and their love language, they can use out of my psychic abilities, because that's what people fail to realize too. Like they're so focused in the clairvoyance, they forgot the other psychic abilities, like your feeling, your taste, and your audience. They forgot about that. So for me, I was like, I prefer to be open so I can best represent or describe the spirit that's coming through.
So if I were to use the word shapeshifter, is it almost like that? Do you feel like that's accurate? Like you're an open vessel and spirit shows up, and the way that you even feel that depends on the spirit that you're expressing? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. Okay. So do you ever feel like there's a gap between where your mind is running and your ability to like physically keep up with it or take action on the plans? Or do you feel like that's pretty close? Like you can dream something up, think about it, and then take action on it?
Dream about it and take action if there's not any distraction.
And one last story, and again, this one might be a little bit sensitive, and feel free not to share, but I'm wondering, again, going back to childhood, is there a sibling story that you'd like to share? Something about the importance or significance of the way you related to your siblings?
We didn't have a relationship at all.
Okay.
Do you have more of a relationship? You mentioned your sister earlier. Is there a relationship as adults more so, or never has been, never is?
Well, my sister on my stepdad's side, me and her are really close now. Growing up, we weren't that close because my mom would have kept us away from each other. Now, since, my sister is older now and considered, adult, we definitely have a bond there. So we're definitely really bonded. And all the siblings I have, me and her are the most closest, for sure.
When you said about siblings in your childhood, you said no relationship. Was it just that one step sibling and the mom kept her away, or were there other siblings?
There were other siblings. There were okay, so total the real dad, the biological dad, there's 7 of us. And then the stepdad or half dad, there's 3. So my mom and real dad, they split up. So there's 2 my brother and sisters, and then me and my older sister. So I'm sorry, it's a complicated story. So my dad had my brother and sister, and then my mom had me and my older sister. And then when my mom married and met my stepdad, they had 3 kids together. So I basically grew up with the half siblings.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. So children or siblings or half siblings that were under the same roof as you growing up, did you have a relationship with them? And if not, what was the reason?
Yes and no, because at that time, my dad was committing this act towards me.
And that affected your relationship with the other kids in the house?
Yes, because I was more in a sense of trying to protect them by distance myself than trying to get them involved, because I was scared of what my dad could have done to them.
I see. So was there tension between you and the siblings then, or just
no?
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt. No, there's no tension at all. It's just like they were just kids growing up, have their own life. My mom treated them better, which I was very proud of. But again, it was just like those times when my dad was committing those acts, I was like very close off to myself. Even though I did have an older sister with me, she was just like way older than me.
You said on your survey that friendship was like the hardest area that you've struggled with. Can you elaborate on why that is?
Because like what Scott said, I just trying to conform or adapt what they want me to be, and I wasn't being myself. So I was just like being stepped on taking advantage of, I was just like mentally and emotionally abused by them. They call me names, the stuff like that. So now, grown up, that's where I said that I learned compassion and sympathy over time. And I was like, maybe humidity isn't so bad at all.
Okay, so that was more like friendship. When you rated friendship as the hardest area, you were more thinking of when you were a child, not so much as an adult.
Yeah, because now, before I started my spiritual journey, I was really closed off, very private, and I still have a lot of traumas and wounds trying to process. But again, so now I guess depending on my life or how my spiritual journey is, whatever, the friendship wound brought up really quickly. So I guess when I was talking to my spirit guides, they're like, nope, you need to fix your friendship first. And learn how to communicate with people, bond with people first before you move on to other stuff.
I see. Okay. And when you are feeling emotions, are they very intense? Like just in general, when you feel emotional about something, is it very, very intense? Or maybe let me rephrase this. When you're feeling very emotional, do you feel like you need to be very private with your emotions? Is it hard for you to be vulnerable? Do you feel shame about when you're getting emotional?
Let's see. I just did this the other day. I was crying about. Okay. So when I'm feeling emotional, I just feel like I'm a bother. So when I come to you, I feel like I'm a bother.
And does that cause you to hide your emotions?
Not really. It's just more of like to kind of like not tell anybody anymore.
Okay, so you said not tell anyone what you're feeling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is kind of like hiding, right? How you feel. Okay.
Hiding
but I can still cry. You see me crying though.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I just meant like it's like when you're feeling emotional, is it hard for you to talk about what you're feeling?
Oh no, I'm very completely honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say are you able to talk about it without like being explosive, or can you talk about it? Like if you're crying or you're upset, are you like?
I'm very calm about it. Like if I have like a heavy chest cry, like tell me like just give me a minute to just re-ground myself or try to gather my thoughts, because sometimes my thoughts being medium goes faster than my mouth is trying to say. I was like, let me gather my thoughts and I'll tell you. So it's not very explosive. It's very calm, kind of like expressing.
Has it always been that way?
I think so. Yes, towards my mom.
Okay. Do you ever obsess or fixate on anything? Have you ever had, or is it easy for you to just let go of something?
I think it's easy for me to let go of something, unless it's like a very traumatic moment in my life. Then I won't be able to let go of it.
Okay. Bronwyn, did you have any other questions?
Just two quick ones, or maybe, I hope they are. One, I wanted to ask about your relationship with time. Are you a completely can lose track of time and be in the flow kind of person, or do you pretty much usually know?
Just no.
Yeah. So not, you don't struggle with like time blindness, anything like that?
No.
Yeah. You mentioned swimming, and then swimming actually being more like just your love of being in the water. But when and if you do get active, what kind of activity other than swimming is, or even if you're not naming a specific activity, what is the kind of activity? Like if you were invited to a dance or on a hike, which would be more appealing to you?
I think dance, movement.
Thank you. I think that's all I've got.
All right. That was quite a cross-examination, astrologers, but we like to get all
Thanks,
the
Linda.
information possible. And I love some of the questions that come up. I've never heard, what is your relationship with time? That can go deep. But Linda, thank you very much for these questions. We're going to actually put you in the waiting room, and they're going to have a little talk to compare the answers, and then we're going to bring you back and see if they've chosen the right chart in just a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. And astrologers, that was a fun one. That was all over the place. I feel like sometimes you would be trying to understand one answer, and there was more context that then would fill in and make it a different answer in a way. So it was tough to kind of sometimes nail down some absolutes, which I don't know might be one chart versus another chart, but more gray area versus absolutes. Are you guys leaning towards one or the other?
I don't know. This is a really hard one. Maybe it's because I don't fully understand one of the chart. Like, I think if we had the other person here, it would be easier. That's why it's hard.
Yeah.
Is because I'm like, is this what I'm seeing, or is it this other one that maybe I don't fully understand? So I think that's the heart. There were things that stood out to me, a lot of things that stood out to me in the Gemini chart, but then there are a couple things that stood out to me in the Capricorn chart. So I really wanted to talk to you, Bronwyn, and see if maybe we could piece it together. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Well, you guys discuss this. I'm going to turn my video off because I don't want to interfere at all, but I will be right here. When you're ready to come back, let me know.
All right.
I'm feeling the same way. Like, I'm leaning, but it is not a hard lean towards the Gemini chart. But there were a few recurring themes that were so Capricornian that I just kept thinking, but maybe it's not. Right?
Yeah. I feel like we were maybe honing in on the same things. Like, okay, so one thing that really stood out to me in the Gemini chart is this Chiron on the ascendant.
Yeah.
And Chiron being kind of associated, I think, with shamanic things or like healing, wounded healer. And that being, in her first whole sign house can be very representative of her upbringing. And she talked about being surrounded by like shamans and stuff, and even her becoming a tarot reader. And then there were just a lot of elements in her story that sounded like she had some self-esteem issues, which having Chiron on your ascendant can do that. I wasn't really seeing the Scorpio moon and Pluto moon that I really wanted. Well, not that I want to wish that on someone, but I'm just saying, like, that piece I was feeling more the Cancer moon. And she also even said, I thought she said that her friends call her mom. That does feel like her moon. But
remember that Gemini chart has Venus in Cancer in the 11th.
Oh, yes. Good point. Yeah. So it could work that way.
Yeah.
The stubbornness, the lack of stubbornness, I guess.
Yeah, I know, that really threw me off. I was like, really?
Somebody else would say that she was stubborn, but I don't know. She didn't seem like she thought she was. So in the Capricorn chart, I mean, not only is that a Taurus rising, which is notoriously stubborn, but the Saturn in Aquarius can be notoriously stubborn too, versus Gemini, very, mutable sign with a mutable ascendant, Virgo. It's like, that's why I'm like you. I'm more going for the Gemini chart because there are just some things that aren't. But I wanted to ask you, okay, so the Capricorn chart has a kite configuration, and I'm just not really familiar with that very much. Do you know much about that?
Yeah, I don't really work with those kind of aspect patterns that much either. So I don't know if I can be any help in illuminating that one.
Okay, yeah.
The things that kept kind of feeling like sticky points for me on the Capricorn that fear of not being productive. The way she said she's working at the Dollar Tree and she's working her way up the ladder, like that is her goal, is she's going to work her way up.
Yeah,
And even when she said, I like any kind of movie as long as it has a strong moral lesson. I'm like, wow, that really sounds like a not Gemini, like a Capricorn. But there's other places like then the Venus in Cancer kept coming in and saying, well, I can do that too. Or even, the Taurus placements that the Gemini chart does have. So this is a tricky one.
yeah. No. Go ahead.
Forced to choose, I would choose the Gemini chart because of that mutability.
Yeah.
Because I do see that Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto in the way that she talks about her spirit work. And the thing with the hands, with the way that the moon Pluto can move through the sun midheaven and that she works with spirit through writing, I was like, that is very Gemini.
Yeah.
The fact that she didn't really identify as a full empath, like, seems like somebody with their psychic abilities coming through their Cancer moon is going to be like, no, the first thing is that empathetic heart. She was like, well, I'm available for what spirit brings in. And I thought then the protectiveness of the siblings, right? The way she it almost sounded, reading between the lines with the tragic story of her upbringing, that she was placing herself in that victim, or she was being alone in that victim role in order to be a buffer between the harm and her siblings. And that's such a Mars moon, like a Mars ruled moon with Pluto there in the third. So that was another piece. Although I agree with you that there was so much of what she said that could be a Cancer moon too. So
yeah, it's really just
not that clear. Yeah,
it's throwing me off. But however, the Gemini chart has Saturn in Pisces.
That's why I asked about time, just because nothing else was giving that Saturn in the seventh, except her husband is much older. And that's like a classic Saturn in the seventh thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Although he's a welder and that's Scorpio. I don't know.
Oh, is it? Oh, shoot. One thing I was honing in, like people who have Saturn in Pisces sometimes can have a really difficult life that they have to kind of overcome and then rise above it and become like a spiritual guru.
True.
So it's just so much of that Chiron on the ascendant story.
So we're feeling the Gemini chart?
I think so.
Yeah,
like
I think so too.
I think if we went with the Capricorn and we were wrong, I would be so mad at myself.
I don't, like, my gut is saying it's the Gemini.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
But,
see if I can keep my 100% record here.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, okay. Is there any other like question we could ask that would feel
that perfect tiebreaker question?
Yeah, like Capricorn energy. Okay, here's one thing. Like on her intake form, when she was asked about like, do you want to travel to foreign countries, she was just kind of like, whereas like there's so much energy in the whole sign ninth house of the Capricorn versus like Mars in fall and South Node. Also, South Node in Taurus can be growing up just focused on basic needs.
Yes.
However, the Capricorn chart has South Node in the second whole sign house. So I'm like, damn it. Very similar, kind of thing.
But that South Node in the second, I notice it manifests more in our adult lives. So with like job after job and sort of having livelihood slip through our fingers. Mm-hmm. She doesn't really seem like, she talks about struggles, but there's also a consistency there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we're going to find a tiebreaker, but I feel like 80% confident about the Gemini chart. Oh.
Well, is there something like Gemini and Capricorn are like at a inversion?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, like, they have like nothing in common. So I'm just wondering, like, what is a real telltale Capricorn thing? I mean, you did ask about time, but Capricorns, let me think. I feel like I just got to get one more question because I feel.
What would be your telltale Capricorn question?
Well, I don't know. Actually, it may not even be a question, because like Capricorns tend to be a little more dry and reserved. She wasn't really feeling that way.
Not at all.
She was feeling like kind of an open book. I mean, she was really like telling a lot, which even though Scorpio doesn't like to do that, Gemini does.
Yeah, she's a storyteller, and Capricorns are not usually the storytellers.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we just got to vote with what we can make a case for. I think, that's all we can do.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hearing some consensus. And
It's a hesitant consensus, but yeah.
Okay. Well, then we're going to
This
go
was
to
a hard one.
Yeah.
we like to keep it challenging on this show. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back with Linda. And guess what, audience? You're going to find out. We already found out. You're listening to this in the future, and so this has already been determined. But for our astrologers right now, they're really being put in the hot seat. We'll see you right back here with Linda to find out which chart belongs to her. Welcome back, everybody. Our astrologers had a nice meeting, compared notes, and we're back here with Linda, and we're going to find out which of these two natal charts belongs to Linda. Guests at home.
Wait, I do have a question.
Yeah, good. I thought you might come in with one at the last minute.
I was getting ahead of ourselves. Never mind, Linda. We're gonna do the interview.
Oh wait, did we start back up or no?
We're started back up. So we have we have a tiebreaker?
Yeah. Well, I wish it was more a question that was crafted out of the other chart, but it's kind of okay. More based on the one that I think we're leaning towards. But Linda,
you don't have to explain yourself. You do what you need to do.
Linda, when you were growing up, you said your mom was like working a lot or just really not there for you because she was trying to make money and stuff. Did you have to figure out a lot of stuff on your own, learn on your own how to be a person, how to do things?
My half-dad, he was here and there. So I guess he was kind of like the traditional Asian dad where he's like, I only will step in when I need to step in kind of thing. So it's really complicated. I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm sorry. It's just my dad, he steps in when he needs to step in. Otherwise, I'm just like, okay, I'm just living life. What do you ask me to do? Tell me what to do kind of thing.
Okay. Fair enough.
Did you get, so like learning to ride a bike or learning certain things that maybe sometimes a parent helps the kid with, did you find yourself having to do these things kind of on your own?
Not really. I think it's more the milestones I'm trying to say is that my dad's trying to be there. But other aspect is like, no, you're on your own. I guess it's just more of he's like closed off because of his upbringing too.
Okay. So you did kind of feel like at times you were on your own where maybe a parent should have been there teaching you, helping you, showing you?
I think more of the logical aspect because they did everything for me. So I couldn't really think for myself about them telling me, do that, do this. This is what the people pleasing aspect comes in.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, they were contributing a lot of direction in your life, telling you what to do. So very involved in that sense. It sounds like.
Do you have any fear around like change, or are you just used to change?
I'm just used to it. I'm just go with the flow.
All right. I think I feel better now. I don't know.
Okay.
It just that mutable energy. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty strong.
Okay. All right. Are we ready, Scott?
Hold on, let me cue the dramatic music. No, this is our favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
Which way are you guys leaning? Sarah, do the honors.
All right, Linda, just to let you know, we had the choice between a Capricorn and a Gemini. So, Linda, are you a Gemini?
Which the big threes?
No.
Sun sign.
No.
You're Capricorn?
Yep.
Well, even in the big three, you wouldn't have a Gemini in your big three then, right?
No, they're not
Yeah.
not my big three. No.
Okay. Do you know your chart?
Yes.
Oh.
I just know the sun rising and moon.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
I'm always trying to find, like, I don't want you to know much about your chart. So I guess you weren't, presenting it that much, but yeah, Gemini is not in the big three because I have to make sure there's no crossover between the two charts. Well, these are always interesting because this gives us more to talk about in the debrief, which is a bonus episode we will record right after this. Linda, can you stick around for the debrief and we can talk a little bit more about the results?
Okay.
Awesome.
Do we have to?
Listeners, you're going to have access for, some more of Linda to talk to you about, how she fits the other chart. But in the meantime, Linda, is there anything that you want to tell guests to go do, or, I don't know if you want them to follow you anywhere or anything you're promoting?
Yeah, if they want to follow me, they can. I can just mainly more active on Facebook. So I do have two accounts. Well, one's a Facebook business page and then my personal page. But my business page is Linda's Spiritual Corner. And then if you want to kind of book readings of me, whatever, you can go to my personal Facebook, which is Linda Faye, F-A-Y, no E at the end, but F-A-Y, the fourth, the little suffix.
Oh, okay.
And Bronwyn, where can people book you for a reading?
Oh, I'm at bronwynsimons.com and at Moon Wisdom on Instagram. And I just started a Substack, so you can find me there, Bronwyn Simons Astrology on Substack.
Well, I don't even know what
I'm
that
really excited about.
That's for more writing work, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to be writing about this episode on your
no.
Substack. Tune in.
No, I will not.
Well, that's it. That's it, everybody. Let us know what you thought by commenting on whatever platform you follow us on. The links to our accounts are in the show notes. We'd like to have a special thanks this week to our newest Patreon supporter, Danny. If you would like to support the show, you can visit patreon.com/AstroDetectives. Every bit counts, and we appreciate every supporter. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss the next episode. Rate and review, because honestly, those ratings and those reviews really do add up, just like the Patreon support. But it helps recommend the show. We make, it's the algorithm favors us if we have more ratings and reviews. So tell us what you think, if it's positive. And tell your friends. And until next time, this case is closed.